Planet of the Apes.
Ooh, that was good.
So
That was good.
I'm gonna put it to you like this.
You gonna talk about? Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm
So
sorry.
like the Planet of the Apes, the old ones.
I think I know where you're
The
going. Go ahead.
names themselves
Yes.
was fire.
Yeah, it was.
You know what I'm saying? You had Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, man.
Then you had Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Dangerous. It's not Planet of the Apes 1,
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes 2,
Right,
Planet of the Apes 3.
right,
No.
There's some
Let's
actual
go ahead
names.
and switch that up.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm not mistaken, is that Charlton Heston?
That is.
Charlton Heston was holding it down. Get your hands off me, you damn dirty ape. And at that time, that wasn't cool. You know, so you could say that.
No, you couldn't. You couldn't.
But so they didn't do that. But now when I watched the old ones, I liked it. I did love how they tried to. I love how the older versions of it, they really made it seem like this was a world. Like I wanted to be in that the Planet of the Apes. Like it really felt like that. Even though the prosthetics was a little, it's the 60s, it's the 70s. It's not.
I mean, Jim
that
Henson
much.
did it. The same person that did Muppet Baby.
Yeah.
Was the same person that did that. So
so
I mean, credit to his genius. It worked.
And he
did the Ninja Turtles.
Listen, that itself, you know what I'm saying? There's a couple parts where you see him open his mouth and But hey,
I ain't complaining.
They had to do what they had to do. And not to mention, at that time, you ain't have 4K.
No.
You had that whatever that resolution was. Now,
Get up the street.
I'm saying that to say is, now that was you would say a success.
Absolutely.
That saga, right?
Absolutely.
Do you recall in like the early 2000s, Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah, I remember that.
Did the Planet of the Apes?
I did.
And at the end of it, it was like Abraham Lincoln, but he was dressed as
he was screwed.
Man, that movie was terrible.
You ain't like it?
I did not like it.
Really?
I did not like it.
So I'm gonna do us all a favor, and I'm gonna cut the ribbon on this new business.
Go ahead.
What I liked about Mark Wahlberg's Planet of the Apes, he started out as a scientist, and he was doing back research on the apes to the point where when he stumbled across the Planet of the Apes, he was the first of his kind to actually bear witness to the Planet of the Apes and realize how they were going to be in their habitat. He was going to take that information and go back to his world. Unfortunately, he got trapped in. He got so trapped that he almost made love to an ape woman. Almost.
That is nasty.
Almost.
It's nasty as hell.
I mean, I'm not gonna go in depth on how she looked in her lingerie.
Ain't that how the bubonic plague got spread? Didn't somebody bang a monkey?
And maybe Planet of the Apes was on something. But the point I'm making is she had to do a ritual dance, and she did one of these. Matter of fact, the same move that Jill Scott did on "Come On, Mr. Dynamite" and "Come and Get Me" on "Get On Up." That's the same thing that ape did. And Mark Wahlberg thought about it long and hard. Hold on a second. Let me moonwalk on that one. He thought about that extensively.
Whoa.
Let's do a double spin on that one.
He took a double take on that thought.
He took a double take because she was in the lingerie and she was shaking it and shimmying it
Now,
as if she had ones thrown on her. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
You might have enjoyed that one. But you know which
I did.
one I enjoyed way more than that?
Oh, man. Talk to me.
Listen, in 2011, they went back on it.
Yeah, they sure did.
And they said it's cool for y'all to give us, the Planet of the Apes. Y'all giving us the human side.
Yeah.
Like y'all giving us how the humans would interact if there was a Planet of the Apes, and how did y'all escape, and it's the humans that were trapped in the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Let's role reverse it. Let's reboot it.
Yeah.
Let's now look at this in the eyes of an ape. Of a chimpanzee. Let's look at this through the eyes of Caesar.
That was beautiful.
Let's talk about
that was good.
Oh my God, what's his name? My boy. It's not Sudeikis. Oh my God. Hold on. We going. Let me see. Planet of the Apes. Cause he took the live action version. Andy Serkis. Now. Andy Serkis live action version of him made you feel Caesar.
Yes.
When I'm talking about that version of Caesar, everybody saw themselves in Caesar. Even though Caesar was a primate, like he was a monkey, like he was an ape.
He was a pet.
But yet he was tested on. He was they tested him. He was poked, he was prodded.
Yeah.
He then began to get a certain type of normal intelligence.
Yeah.
And that gave me a different look on animal testing and stuff like that. They made that give us something more palatable, and then they built on those Planet of the Apes. So there you had the rise of the Planet of the Apes. Then you had the dawn of the Planet of the Apes. You had the war for the Planet of the Apes. But this is not about the war of the humans versus the apes, but it's the humans aspect. It's like, no, Caesar built up a team. Caesar built up a family. He built up all of that lifestyle because the humans were mean. The humans were wrong. They even gave us a conflict between two apes, two non-human people. That's true. And you felt the conflict between the two of them. Apes together strong, right? But Cobra said, no, but they are against us. They only want to test us. They only want to use us as weapons. Look at what they did to my man's here. Look at what they did to the orangutan. They used him as a muscle here. And Caesar was sitting there telling you, like, no, we can coincide with him. You know why? Because the dude that raised me, the owner, the scientist that had me,
he loved me.
He wasn't none of that.
Yeah, no.
So him wanting to save the human race for that aspect, and Cobra wanted to be on the other side where, no, we need to run this world ourselves. We need to have our own planet. That gave a story and an aspect of it that now that reboot and that remake, it takes apart a whole different turn. Now, you know, they did mess it up with the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. It wasn't all the way bad.
Yeah, it was all right.
But it was just all right. You know what I mean? Like that's one of my favorite ones. But
just to touch on the fact that with Cobra and Caesar, it sounded a whole lot like Professor X and Magneto.
Come on now.
I mean, the fact that Magneto only wanted his brothers, his mutant race, and the fact that why are we coexisting with these people that mean us all harm? All harm.
Come on, man.
And the fact that going back to the X-Men and going back to the Days of Future Past, there was another movie after that called The Apocalypse.
All right, and that was okay. That one was okay. It was okay. It's where they went worse. Apocalypse was not that bad. Cause all right.
Why was Apocalypse bad? Why was the movie terrible?
Well,
I'll address it after you. I'm going to sit here and be quiet like a church boy.
I can understand why Apocalypse was as bad because Apocalypse, the villain himself, was supposed to be way more powerful. He was the very first mutant. And for him being the first mutant, that means he's supposed to have all of the powers. He's supposed to have all of the encompassing powers that then let off. All of them are his children, right? And the leadership of making them his disciples was there. Now, the execution-wise, all right, I can understand that. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead.
Okay, so let me go in between these ropes and interrupt this 3 count. So I can resonate to that movie to this day because it's times where, matter of fact, I'll give you a scene. The scene that he was speaking to Eric. The scene that he had to remind Eric that he is a top-tier mutant. The things that he had to remind him of. You lost your family to these people that you want to coincide with. Because at some point, Eric was going to think about joining. He was going to think about joining Professor X. He thought about it until he realized that's fine. That's fine. But there's a thing about agreeing to disagree, and the fact that these same people that you want to save is the same people that killed my family. And I sat and watched them. The same people that branded me and sent me off to another place away from my family. These same people that looked at me with disgust, and he calls them Homo sapiens. And the fact that Apocalypse came and just talked to him, even though he's all powerful.
Give you everything.
Listen, even though he's all powerful and he could have shaped this, he spoke to him. And what did that remind you of? That reminds you of a scripture where it says God spoke this world in existence. He didn't create it; he spoke it. Meaning, he said, "Air, air; sun, sun; chair, chair." He made and manifested everything. So when he was sitting up here and he was about as close as I was to the microphone as he was to Eric, he got all power. He reached his hand down, and all the metal that came from every part of this world came up in his hand because he spoke to him. That right there can resonate to me, because how many times have you heard somebody say, how can my day get any worse? And it does. They spoke that.
You keep bringing it
up. But then when you talk about manifestation and you talk about, listen, I'm going to have a good day on purpose. I'm going to have a blessed day on purpose. I'm going to rule this day and I'm going to rule the other day. Then it becomes so it is so. And like you have the King Midas touch because you spoke it. That right there was one of my favorite parts of that movie.
But
talk to me.
You could also understand why people don't like that movie.
No.
You know what I mean? You don't understand why?
I don't understand.
I mean, Apocalypse was definitely not as big of a threat as we wanted him to be?
He was.
No, he was not.
He was.
not.
He was. They got caught up in the way he looked. They got caught up in the way he walked.
Yeah, I didn't like the neck. And like he didn't move. He couldn't move his neck. It was the Batman.
But he's the first. And then the fact that he was in Egypt way before, and he was the first mutant ever. And he showed it when he went towards Archangel and he spoke life into him. He went from feather wings to metal wings. When he gave Storm her true powers by speaking to her.
Yeah,
he didn't have to magnify or he didn't have to put no spell or none of the cartoonish stuff. He spoke it.
Yeah.
And once he spoke it, man, I'm telling you what, Archangel wasn't the same.
Well, you're speaking some bullshit because the movie was okay. It was just okay. All right. Because should we keep going?
Please.
Because what movie? Please. What came after Apocalypse?
The Dark Phoenix.
Which was. You want me to look up? Did you want me to tell you the numbers on that? Because Apocalypse was 47% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Which means like less than half the critics enjoyed it, and then 65%, which means there are people that enjoyed it. Now, myself,
hold on a minute. Now,
I enjoyed it a little bit.
It did, but it did rake in 543 million.
Yeah, you gonna make that money back?
543. No. That wasn't the budget. That's what they made.
You gonna make that
the first weekend.
You gonna make
weekend is Saturday and Sunday.
You using the X-Men name.
That's fine.
You gonna make that back.
A smart
do I gotta tell you about? All right. So Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
Is 22%.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. I have no rebuttal to that. That was terrible.
Absolute trash.
That was terrible.
And for that,
garbage.
That's what can make your remakes and
Yes, so absolutely.
Now the question that remains. Now that we didn't gave a premise. Now let's really get into this conversation.